All right, I'm continuing with my digital inking, but I'm going to use this opportunity. I've saved it as an AI file. So I'm going to open up or create a new folder, assignment 5 folder, spot illustration deco snake. I'm going to move my sketch into there. I'm going to move my inspirations into there. My Art Deco inspirations, because those can be very helpful when it comes time to color it. And yeah. And I need to move my AI file into there, which I saved to the desktop. I have to find it. Here it is. Mark it as green because that's my working file format. That will contain everything I need, including my sketch, until I'm finished with it, and I save it out as vector transferable formats, EPS and SVG. And anytime I want to update it now, because I've named it, I just hit Command S, and it will update. All right, so back to Blob Brush. Zooming in, digital inking using the rotate tool to get kind of optimal angles. And let's try it. Oh, I was doing so well. Here, I'm going to try a more extreme angle. It's usually easier to go down and up to the right than the opposite, if you're right-handed. This rotate tool can really help if you're left-handed. So remember, as soon as I overlap the inking that I already have, it all becomes one path. That's the beauty of the Blob Brush. So now you see all of that's connected everywhere it's touching. So I want to make sure I connect it in the areas I want. Keep kind of messing it up. And because I do this a lot, I do get pretty picky about my line weight and my line quality. But I'm trying not to be too much of a perfectionist because I'm not getting paid to do this snake image. And I want to get it done within the deadline time. So that works. Can connect this. Can connect this. This will be a little tricky, but clean curves are some of the hardest things to do, and I gave myself a lot of them in this illustration. Let's rotate it a little bit. So definitely use that rotate tool to find angles that are helpful to you, so it feels comfortable with your hand. And the big advantage of doing it digitally is that you get multiple chances, right? You can correct it. But there's also no requirement for you to have really, really smooth line art. You just need to have vector line art. And a vector is always going to be clean. So that will take care of itself. Now it's interesting. This was a line created separately than this line. So if I want to bring them together, which I do, I take my blob brush and I paint against them. And now, wait, why is this not connecting? Interesting. Usually it would automatically layer them together. But if I find they're not doing that, I can always select multiples, like I've just done, and then use the Pathfinder to merge them together. So now they're all one path. Why do I want them as all one path? So that I can use things like the smooth tool or the pencil tool on them and even out those anchor points. And then pencil tool. Right here. Start on the path, end on the path, just cleans it up. Start on the path, end on the path, cleans it up. All right, going to rotate it a little bit, try to get that other curve. These are the challenging bits, these curves. And you can decide how much you want to be zoomed in or out. Aye. So inking, digital inking is a very different kind of drawing and line making than sketching. You can see how the sketching lines always start and stop, and you kind of find your line kind of from a scribble. Whereas digital inking is more what's called an animator's line than a sketching line. It means you kind of have to commit to it, right? But that smooth function definitely helps. And I'm not sure how much to worry about these little gaps, but again, the blob brush can fill those in for me. Just like I would with a normal ink brush. Good. Okay, might as well finish off this section, and then that shows me the finish I want for the rest of it, right? So these little stripe patterns, these triangles. And the more you practice it, the more comfortable you'll be with the tools. And as you create more lines, you get more overlaps to cover up your edges where the ink kind of blobs out, right? So that's helpful. You don't have to clean it up as much. And you might have to go beyond what your sketch has a little bit as you're figuring it out. All right, that's what I want. I want to add a little one here for that jaw, and then I'm going to connect it here. Nope, don't like that. That works. Extend this. Now you can think of your line art as being a coloring book, but our illustration is not meant to be finished once it's a black line art. It's meant to be finished once that line art is colored in. So this isn't like a logo where we will have a black and white version and then a colored version. So the line art is just the beginning. But it will help just with the ease of your coloring if you can contain your line art for the most part. So my design is lots and lots of contained shapes, which will make it pretty easy to color in individual shapes like tiles, which really works well with the Art Deco inspiration as well. Whereas if you have a lot of open shapes, then you'll have to use your lasso to kind of define those open spaces and fill those in. Okay, I'm going to hit Command S, save my work. And now you can see, just because I've gotten some of this practice with this setup and with the blob brush, that I'm already working a lot smoother than I was when I started with the crown. So probably at the very end, I'll redraw that crown. And you're kind of finding your line art style as you go. Now, for those of you who are finished with your line art, you can start looking for color inspiration. You can find that sometimes in comics. I should have stopped while I was ahead, but actually I kind of like that. Let's see. Yeah, that can work. You can look for it in the historical paintings or the art movement that you chose. But your next choices are going to be what colors to kind of fill in your line art with. If this is a coloring book, what crayons do you choose to start your coloring? Man, these big sweeping curves are tough. So the way to do it is to kind of segment them and try to optimize the angle that your arm wants to do that curve. And I can't even find a good angle for it. This is a tricky one, because our hand doesn't usually like to go down and in. It likes to go up and out. So let's try it this way. Better. So if you find you're trying to redraw the same line over and over again, try to learn from that experience and set the angle beforehand. Though I know everyone's illustrations will have its own unique issues. These are the issues I'm having with mine. There we go. And then the magic of vectors. I can select this, and I can use the pencil tool to draw the inside of the curve, and the pencil tool to redraw the outside of the curve and let it taper, and then use the smooth tool to kind of average it all out. There we go. Good. That is a tough shape, but I got it. Okay, now the inside lines, going to hit Command S. Finished with that. Even if you do this stuff all the time, it's good to be challenged. That's why the art movement inspiration was part of this, right? So even those of you who always make your own illustrations, good to find new influences to challenge you. See what you can learn from them. Start getting into kind of these fractals. I think this would benefit from that too.